Eustace, hello, and thanks for your time in joining us. It's a long-winded question when supporting local business. It's a good idea, but how do South Africans go about supporting from the very small to the very big?
So as we reopen the economy and reopening an economy where even when we went into a bit of a closure of the economy, when the lockdown initially started, we were already seeing the numbers, the unemployment numbers going up. The GDP was also not in a good state. And where we are at this point is where we need to find ways to start making positive contributions. Everyone can make a contribution because through your spending patterns and in the rands and cents that you spend, when you make purchasing decisions, you can actually make a huge contribution to jobs, to the economy, but most importantly to ensuring that we get off again of a good footing.
When people are starting to look, Eustace, for locally produced products and companies that are proudly South African, it is quite difficult to understand sometimes where that company is getting its supplies from. It can be confusing whether they're truly South African or just have South African employees. How can someone like myself go online and take a look at someone in my area and see how proudly South African they are so I can support them?
So what we've done as part of South African over time is we've built up a database of companies that cut across different industries. And when you go into the Proudly SA website and on the landing page, you're able to do a search. There's an ability for you to do a search. The search engine, when it produces the results, so quick example is furniture. It will give you results of all furniture manufacturers that are listed with us. And these are companies that have been vetted. And so the minute the name of the company comes up with the details, including their web details, their physical address and location, you already know that this is a company that has been vetted for quality, but most importantly that the product itself contains sufficient local content, which simply means that it's made within the borders of South Africa. The raw materials that were used in making that product were converted substantially into the final product within the borders of South Africa, which means that jobs were created in the process. And that's why the Buy Local campaign is exactly about that, about making sure that you support a business that is within the borders of South Africa, but as best as possible, find one that is within the vicinity of your business or where you live.
One of the biggest hit sectors of the country, Eustace, I'm sure you'll agree, is that of the tourism sector. We're not at the point yet where people can travel either domestically, unless it's for work purposes, and you have to have permits for that, or internationally. The tourism sector itself is going to need a lot of attention when it opens up. All too often we're hearing about tourists flying to other parts of the world. What are you telling local businesses, whether it be hotels, B&Bs, lodges, for example? How are they going to get South Africans back to visiting them instead of heading overseas, as South Africans tend to do?
I mean, the example you've given of tourism relates to every single industry and it's every single sector of the economy, because if you think about what we've just gone through now, where we're able to survive predominantly on that which is locally made. So as points of exit were closed up in those countries that we rely on our traditional suppliers, either of raw materials, of the day-to-day products that we consume, we needed to rely on that which is locally made for a period of time. We have had to survive on that which is locally made. When people were stockpiling and there was a panic that happened around buying, that which continued to fill the shelves was predominantly what came from within the borders of South Africa. So it's the same that everyone must take into service industries as well, that same kind of thinking, that we need to ensure that we keep those industries alive. If it was not for these manufacturers who kept making the products, we would not be in a position where we would have survived like we did. So it's the same. You need the services industries to be supported so that those jobs that are in those industries can be sustained, and that as they grow and we all start taking those decisions that are in favor of the South African economy, we start making those choices to travel locally, to supporting that which is within the borders of South Africa. We all know someone who's unemployed, Gareth. And the honest truth is that the only way we can get those people into jobs is if there is real economic activity that happens within the borders of South Africa. So those hotels, those B&Bs, those airlines, and everyone across that whole tourism value chain will really need us to take decisions to support them so that those jobs, whatever jobs still remain in those industries, can be retained, and potentially new jobs can still be created in those industries.
Always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed joining us here on ENCA. CEO of Proudly South African, Eustace Mashimbye.